Story 1. A group of friends chatting on the balcony notices a girl from the top floor of a nearby dorm sitting and swaying, starting around 1 in the morning. Without binoculars or a good zoom camera, they can't discern why she's swaying. She keeps swaying from side to side and back and forth. An hour passes, and she shows no signs of stopping. Jokes and theories fly among the friends, but by 3 a.m., the swaying continues. As it hits 4 a.m., the balcony door opens, and someone looks at the swaying girl for about 10 seconds before heading back inside, shutting off the lights. Despite the whole floor being dark, she continues swaying under the balcony's light. She's been swaying rhythmically, uninterrupted, for 3 hours. One friend tries to jest, heading to the far end of the wide balcony alone, saying, "What are you doing?" towards the girl. Just then, the balcony light goes out. Thinking it's a prank by their friends, they turn back, but the light returns, and their friends remain motionless, sending a chill through them all. The fun ends abruptly. Feeling uneasy, they huddle silently on the balcony, feeling a tingling sensation in their stomachs. One girl starts crying, and a few others try to lower the fuses to spook them further. But before they could touch the fuses, the power goes out, plunging the entire compound into darkness. The mood shifts, fear grips them, and they hold on to each other quietly. Another girl starts crying more intensely. Their attempts at humor or a prank vanish as they feel a sense of foreboding. 5 minutes later, the power returns, and all eyes dart back to the dorm's balcony. The girl is still swaying under the balcony's light. There's nearly an hour until dawn. They hastily retreat inside in groups, too scared to wait and see what happens next, and everyone goes to bed. The next morning, the balcony is empty. The fear from the previous night is kept at bay, hidden behind their jokes. They gather on the balcony again as night falls. They share personal stories about the night before and laugh. Some friends, still fearful, begin writing scripts about the swaying girl. One says, "Imagine if she stands up and points at us suddenly, shouting, 'I see you.'" The girls start feeling scared again, while the boys continue laughing. Then, someone says, "What if she suddenly turns towards us and appears beside us in 3 moves?" The girls let out slight screams. Suddenly, the swaying girl appears on the empty balcony again, immediately sitting and swaying. Fear fills the air once more. Despite it not being a real danger, they all feel a similar tension to the previous night. One of them points at the girl and says, "What if she jumps off the balcony?" A classic horror movie trope sends shivers down their spines. What if she jumps? We rush to the dorm, and we can't find her body on the ground. When we ask the warden about the top floor, they say, no one's lived there for 5 years after a girl committed suicide. It's empty. Goosebumps cover everyone, and they agree not to stretch the night further. They disperse to their rooms, and that night ends. But it's the last night they see the swaying girl on the balcony. Weeks later, in the morning's clear light, someone sees the girl on the balcony again, with another girl sitting next to her. She's swaying as usual. Using a recently acquired camera, they zoom in to get a close-up view. The girl they've joked about and feared for weeks is clearly visible on the camera screen, chatting and laughing with her friend while still swaying. But even then, they never discover the reason behind her constant swaying or the mystery surrounding her actions that had caused their 2 nights of fear. Story 2. I lived in a bizarre little house as a child. It was incredibly tall and thin, like an attached house except freestanding, with 3 floors, a basement and an attic. It was full of quirks, such as 2 fully functional fireplaces, a shower stall in the center of the basement, a backyard so small that you could not take 5 paces without hitting the fence, and an old-timey rope-pull dumbwaiter that led from the kitchen to my bedroom. I loved that weird little place, but unfortunately it was incredibly old, and half of its charm was the fact that it seemed to have been designed by an inarticulate conclave of lunatics, and eventually the repair costs exceeded what my parents were willing to sink into it. And we had to move. Preparing for the move was a chore. I packed most of my stuff myself, and I had taken to throwing stuff down the dumbwaiter and shoving all my clothes so thickly in my closet that they became a single, solid brick of fabric. While clearing that closet out, in fact, I came across a feature I hadn't noticed before, an attic entrance in the roof. Being an adventurous kid, I opened her up, stood on the clothes brick, and began my first and last exploration into the topmost part of our weird little house. The first thing I noticed was that it wasn't as dark as it should have been. The place was strung with old, red Christmas lights which still burned with leftover incandescence. And a dozen little cracks and holes peeped down into all the bedrooms below. The second thing I noticed was that the place was set up for habitation. The insulation was plasticed away, there was an old gurney piled with sleeping bags and sheets, and a rusted mint green refrigerator which still worked when I tested it. The third thing was the bones. There were a lot of bones. I was a kid at the time, with a limited understanding of anatomy, but there were bones of all types heaped into a series of piles around the center of the attic. Small and large, clean and white, from every and any imaginable sort of creature, haphazardly stacked in a half-dozen osseous clumps. 2 of them were blackened, as if someone had tried to burn them, and the walls nearest those blackened piles were scrawled in dark bone-char messages. Mostly they were just smears, but the word "sorry" appeared more than once. That room had been sitting over my head for 8 years, while I slept. Story 3. I have a fear of spiders because of a hunting trip I took with my dad and family when I was a kid. I don't enjoy shooting things, not an animal rights activist, but I think killing for game or bragging rights and not for food is wasteful and barbaric. I had brought my Game Boy and they stationed me at one of the ground blinds so I could use the radio to tell the others if I saw any deer headed their way. That I got bored as shit and got tired of grinding in Pokemon, so I turned off my game and started rifling through my backpack to find another. As I did this, I heard a strange whooshing sound that sounded very close, but I couldn't find anything. I walked around outside the blind, and as I came around the backside I saw that the entire outer wall was covered in a mass of fucking interlinked daddy long leg spiders. I considered running like hell, but I had no idea where the camp was. I had been driven out to the blind. My solution was to use my Kenevoff and the lighter from my backpack to blowtorch all the spiders off. Because stupid, that's why. The plan backfired because I made the mistake of standing downwind of the spiders. The second the fire hit them, they all let go and flew at me. The entire wall of them. Flaming, flying, spiders. I immediately started screaming and rolling around on the ground. I took off all of my clothes and immediately phoned my dad on the radio and told him to come get me and that we were going home. I have never sworn or cried so profusely in my life. I eventually went through therapy regarding this event, and now I just hate spiders in general and prefer not to be around them. Story 4. A week after gaining my CPR certification, I had to try and perform CPR on a woman dying of a heroin, probably other drugs too, overdose. I was at a thrift store with some friends looking for Halloween costumes, and someone came in saying that someone was passed out in the parking lot. I was in the dressing room, and it just got super quiet, so I came out and told them I was certified and I'd go take a look and that they needed to call 911. I go outside and don't see anyone on the ground. Someone comes out and shouts that the person is in the car that's parked far out by itself. I ran over and honestly freaked the fuck out. She was pretty much already dead. Completely blue in the face, slumped against her car window. She had the red druggy rings around her eyes, but those were blue too because she was so oxygen deprived. We opened the door and I'll never forget that when we turned her head to see if she still had a pulse, she had tears running down her face. We pulled her out of the car, put her on the ground, and took her pulse again because the first person to do it wasn't sure. We started CPR and the ambulance arrived about a minute after. They got her strapped up and in and continued CPR. They had another ambulance come and those EMTs got out and there was literally like 6 of them surrounding her. The cop told us they had administered some type of drug that can apparently reverse heroin overdoses if given in time, but she was pretty much dead already. They would do the necessary stuff until they could get to the hospital and call it, according to him. I also remember when we opened the door there was heroin needles and empty pill bottles all over the floor. She wasn't very old. We also think she had kids. She had some toys and a car seat, plus 2 names tattooed on her. Story 5, I was delivering a hot tub to this contractor/realtor in this fancy gated community near Branson, Missouri. When I arrived, the construction workers were in charge of telling me where the thing was supposed to go. It was going on the 4th floor balcony, but because of the way the house was built, the 4th floor was ground floor. The other 3 floors were on the side of a hill, but the driveway was even with the first 4th floor entrance, if that makes sense. So, lot of construction going on, but to get the hot tub on the balcony, I had to make a ramp, take it from the drive, down into the yard, up a ramp to the porch, through the living room door, across the living room, out the back patio doors onto the deck. Problem with this was, the deck was unfinished. A huge section of decking was missing. They had literally installed only enough decking so that I could go from the patio doors to the far corner of the deck where the hot tub would sit. There was no railing. The hot tub weighed 900 pounds and it was a 4-story drop if I fell. The construction workers volunteered to help me. We got it out onto the deck, crossed the narrow bridge of installed decking to the corner and I was about to lay it down. You move these on a dolly while the hot tub is on its edge for clarification. Laying it down isn't that hard. You tilt it, bring it down to your lap, grab the strap securing it to the dolly and lower it to the deck. It's very controlled and I'd done it thousands of times. However, this deck wasn't finished, so the contractor wanted to leave it on its edge. It's a lot harder to take it off when it's standing up, because the dolly is under a 900-pound tub, but I've done it before. I told them that we would have to put blocks under one side of the dolly, tilt the tub and pop the straps to release the dolly so it could be removed from the area. Then you tilt the hot tub back, remove the blocks and then set the hot tub down on the deck. Problem: the deck wasn't wide enough to allow me to do this safely. I popped the strap on the hot tub, put the blocks under, and I tilted the hot tub, but that put me with my feet 4 inches from the edge of the deck with nothing but 4 stories of air behind me. We were able to free the dolly on one side, but not the other. The hot tub had to be leaned over further toward me. I tell everyone to freeze, and they do. I didn't want anyone messing with it because I had to shift my feet back 5 inches so my heels were off the deck. I'm freaking out, but it's all going smooth. I have a construction worker on each side of me helping support the tub, 3 construction workers freeing the dolly, and 1 useless worker playing with the strap that is going to secure the tub to the house so that the wind doesn't blow the tub over. We are inches from having the dolly freed when one of the construction workers freeing the dolly gets impatient and kicks the corner of the tub to dislodge it from the dolly. It works for him, but unfortunately for me, I didn't have my feet set yet. I shout that I'm falling. The 2 guys beside me take the weight of the tub, but no one can get to me. My arms are windmilling, I'm bent almost double backwards trying my damnedest to stay on the deck. I can see the boulders down below out of the corner of my eye. I'm falling and there isn't anything I can do about it. I feel myself go. I'm falling. My heels slip out from under me and no one can reach me, but then suddenly, I'm flying forward. Something is under the small of my back and it's slamming me into the bottom of the tub. The dolly is removed and the tub stood up with me hugging it before I find out what saved me. The useless guy playing with the strap had already secured one end to the house. When I fell, the strap was already behind me, hanging off the deck. The construction worker pulled it tight with all his might, arresting my fall. It wasn't there for that purpose, but he saved my life that day. I would have been dead if not for him. I thanked him by sending him and his wife and kid to Breckenridge, Colorado for Christmas. It was actually a vacation I'd saved for and was about to surprise my wife and daughter with. But I felt he deserved it more. Plus, my wife and daughter didn't know anything about it. Yeah. That was one of my most scariest moments ever. Hello everyone. My name is Ibrahim and welcome to Horrible Stories. If you made it this far, I just wanted to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a like. That helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully, I will see you in the next one.